The cosmic arrival. The December wind screamed across the Colorado Rockies like a wounded animal, battering the walls of the mountain observatory where Dr. Alexander Chen had worked in isolation for 3 long years. His colleagues at the university thought him obsessed, perhaps even mad, but he didn't care anymore, not since the accident that took his wife Sarah, not since he'd buried himself in work so deep that human connection felt like a foreign language. At 42, Chen had resigned himself to loneliness, his days filled with telescope adjustments and data analysis, his nights haunted by memories of laughter that once filled his now silent home. The observatory sat perched on a cliff face, miles from the nearest town, exactly how he wanted it, no visitors, no questions, no painful reminders of what he'd lost. The sky erupted without warning, a cascade of violet and silver light tearing through the storm clouds like reality itself was splitting open. Chen's monitoring equipment went haywire, alarms shrieking as energy readings spiked beyond anything in his database. He rushed to the window, his breath fogging the glass as he witnessed something impossible. A craft, sleek and otherworldly, spiraled through the atmosphere trailing purple flame. It crashed into the snowy valley below his observatory with an impact that shook the entire mountain. For 30 seconds Chen stood frozen, his scientist's mind warring with primal fear. Then training took over and he grabbed his emergency kit and winter gear. The trek down took 20 minutes through knee-deep snow, his flashlight cutting through the blizzard to reveal a smoking crater. The vessel lay crumpled against ancient rock, its hull cracked and leaking strange luminescent fluid that melted the snow on contact. Chen's heart hammered as movement caught his eye. 3 figures emerged from the wreckage, stumbling and clearly injured. They were humanoid but undeniably alien, their skin held a faint purple tint that seemed to glow from within, their eyes larger and more expressive than any human's, their features both familiar and utterly foreign. The one in front, tall and commanding despite obvious pain, raised her hands in a gesture of peace. "Please," she said in perfect English though her voice carried harmonics that made his chest vibrate, "we mean no harm. I am Commander Rena, these are my crew members Arya and Isabel, our ship has failed and we require shelter." Behind her, a smaller woman with purple skin darker than her companion swayed dangerously, blood that shimmered like liquid starlight seeping from a wound in her side. The third alien, lithe and graceful despite exhaustion, supported her injured companion with evident concern. Chen's mind raced through 1,000 protocols, regulations, and fears, but when he looked at their faces, desperate, frightened, vulnerable, he saw something he recognized: survivors clinging to hope in a hostile universe. "My facility is 15 minutes uphill," he heard himself say, lowering his defensive posture. "Can you walk?" "We can manage," Rena replied, relief flooding her exotic features. "Thank you, Dr. Chen." "How do you know my name?" he asked, startled. "Your equipment broadcasts identification signals," Arya explained, her voice musical despite pain. "We studied your language and customs during descent. We are explorers, not invaders." The climb back proved treacherous. Chen supported Isabel whose injury was clearly serious. Her purple skin had paled to an alarming lavender shade and she trembled with each step. Arya moved with grace despite exhaustion, while Rena scouted ahead with military precision. Inside the observatory's living quarters, Chen activated the emergency heating and medical supplies. The 3 aliens huddled near the fire, their otherworldly beauty becoming more apparent as they warmed. Rena's features held sharp intelligence and warrior strength. Arya possessed an ethereal quality that reminded him of classical paintings. Isabel's gentle face radiated kindness even through obvious suffering. "Let me see that wound," Chen said, approaching Isabel with his first aid kit. "Your medicines won't work on my biology," she replied softly, but allowed him to examine the injury. "I am a healer by training, but cannot treat myself effectively. Arya has some medical knowledge." Arya knelt beside them, her long fingers moving with confident precision as she opened a small device salvaged from their ship. "This will seal the wound temporarily," she explained, meeting Chen's eyes with a gaze that made something flutter in his chest, "but we will need time to fully recover and repair our vessel." "How much time?" Chen asked. "Weeks, perhaps months," Rena admitted, standing near the window with military bearing despite her obvious exhaustion. "We understand this is an enormous request, Dr. Chen. We are stranded on a world not our own, injured and without resources. If you choose to report us to your authorities we will understand, but we humbly ask for sanctuary." Chen looked at the three aliens, at their vulnerable faces and desperate hope, and thought of his own isolation, his self-imposed exile from everything that made life worth living. Perhaps the universe had sent him something other than loneliness. You can stay, he decided, but we need to establish some ground rules. Building trust. The first week tested every assumption Chen held about reality. His three alien guests moved through the observatory with careful respect, treating his space like sacred ground even as they gradually made it their own. Rena established a schedule that brought structure to Chen's chaotic routine. Arya buried herself in his research with enthusiasm that reignited his own dormant passion, and Isabel's gentle presence somehow made the cold facility feel warm. Your calculations are brilliant but incomplete, Arya announced one morning, appearing at Chen's shoulder as he worked on quantum field equations. Her purple skin seemed to shimmer in the computer screen's glow. You're approaching interdimensional mathematics from a three-dimensional perspective, may I show you? Her fingers flew across the keyboard, adding variables that seemed impossible yet somehow made perfect sense. Chen watched in fascination as months of stalled research suddenly clicked into place. That's incredible, he breathed. How did you see what I missed? Different perspectives, Arya replied with a smile that made his pulse quicken. On my world we experience dimensions your species cannot perceive, but your intuition brought you remarkably close. Together we could make real breakthroughs, Dr. Chen. Call me Alex, he found himself saying, drawn by her enthusiasm and the way her eyes sparkled with intellectual fire, and yes, I'd like that very much. Their working sessions became the highlight of his days. Arya's mind moved at incredible speed but she explained concepts with patience and humor. They'd work until dawn sometimes, fueled by coffee and excitement, their shoulders touching as they leaned over equations, her alien warmth seeping through his shirt. Meanwhile, Rena transformed his disorganized facility into something resembling military efficiency. She repaired equipment he'd neglected, organized supply systems, and somehow convinced the temperamental generator to run smoothly for the first time in months. Chen often found her on the observation deck at night, studying Earth's stars with expression of profound longing. Do you miss your home? He asked one evening, joining her under the cosmos. Every moment, Rena admitted, her voice carrying depths of emotion her commander's bearing usually concealed. But I miss my crew more. We were 9 when we departed, only 3 survived the crash. I failed them, Alex. The use of his first name surprised him, as did the vulnerability in her normally controlled features. You kept 3 alive through impossible circumstances, Chen said quietly. That's not failure, that's leadership. Rena turned to him, her purple-tinted face catching starlight. You understand burden, she observed. I see it in how you carry yourself, in the sadness behind your kindness. You've lost someone. My wife, Chen confessed, the word still painful after 3 years. Accident on the highway, drunk driver. She died instantly and I've been hiding up here ever since. Rena's hand found his on the railing, her touch warm and solid and unexpectedly comforting. Grief is not weakness, she said firmly, it's proof that we love deeply enough for absence to wound us. Carry it with honor, Alex, as I know you do. Something passed between them in that moment, understanding between 2 souls who'd learned to bear unbearable weight. Chen felt seen in a way he hadn't since Sarah's death, and when Rena squeezed his hand gently before releasing it, warmth bloomed in his chest. But it was Isabel who truly began breaking down his walls. The healer possessed an uncanny ability to sense emotional distress alongside physical ailments. Chen had aggravated an old leg injury during a supply run, and despite his attempts to hide the pain, Isabel appeared in his quarters that evening. You're hurting, she stated simply, her purple skin glowing softly in the lamplight. Please, let me help. I'm fine, Chen protested, but she was already kneeling beside his chair, her hands hovering over his injured leg with professional concern. Your species is stubborn about accepting care, Isabel observed with gentle amusement. On my world, we understand that strength includes knowing when to accept help. May I? Chen nodded, and Isabel's hands made contact with his leg through his pants. Warmth immediately flooded the injury, not burning heat but soothing energy that felt like sunlight on skin. The chronic ache that had plagued him for 2 years began dissolving under her touch. How are you doing this? Chen gasped as pain gave way to relief. My people evolved as natural healers, Isabel explained, her voice soft and melodic. We can sense and influence biological systems, accelerate healing, ease suffering. It's why I chose medicine as my calling. Her hands moved with tender confidence, tracing the old injury's pathways, and Chen found himself watching her face, the concentration that furrowed her brow, the compassion that softened her exotic features, the way her purple skin seemed to pulse with inner light. "There," Isabel announced, sitting back with satisfaction, "the damage is repaired, you should feel significant improvement." Chen tested his leg and discovered she was right, the persistent ache had vanished completely. "Thank you," he said with genuine gratitude, "that's been bothering me for years." "You carry too much alone," Isabel said, those large expressive eyes meeting his with concern that felt intimate, physical pain, emotional wounds, isolation that hurts your spirit. "Alex, you don't have to bear everything by yourself." Her hand remained on his knee, warm and grounding, and Chen felt something crack open inside him, walls built from grief and loneliness developing fissures under her gentle assault. "I don't know how to be any other way," he admitted quietly. "Then perhaps we can learn together," Isabel suggested, her smile radiant and impossibly kind. "We are strangers on your world, learning to live in ways we never imagined. Maybe you can learn to live differently too." That night Chen lay awake, his mind churning with impossible thoughts. 3 alien women had crashed into his isolated existence, bringing chaos and color and something that felt dangerously like hope. He was developing feelings for all of them, distinct but equally powerful connections that terrified him. In their shared quarters, the 3 Xyloran women faced similar turmoil. "We need to discuss what's happening," Rena said firmly, her commander voice masking uncertainty. "We're falling for him," Arya stated bluntly, "all 3 of us. I see how you look at Alex, how Isabel touches him with more than healing intent, and I know my own heart." "This complicates everything," Isabel said softly, but her eyes held no regret. "He's human, we're stranded, and yet when I'm near him I feel something I've never experienced." They fell silent, bound by shared longing for a lonely scientist who'd given them more than shelter. He'd given them glimpses of what home could mean. Hearts awakening. Spring arrived in the Colorado mountains like a whispered secret. Melting snow revealed wildflowers that painted the valleys in impossible colors, and the observatory felt less like a fortress of isolation and more like a sanctuary where 4 souls learned to breathe again. Chen's research flourished under Arya's collaboration, his facility hummed with Rena's organizational brilliance, and Isabel's presence brought warmth to spaces that had been cold for years. But the growing tension between them had become impossible to ignore. Chen caught himself inventing reasons to be near each woman, drawn by forces he couldn't name or control, and he turned to find one of them watching him with eyes that held barely concealed longing, desire and uncertainty warring in expressions that made his heart race. Everything shifted on a clear April night when Chen and Arya worked late in the observatory's main dome, tracking a cosmic phenomenon her instruments had detected. They stood side by side at the telescope, their bodies close in the darkness, her purple skin catching the glow from distant stars. "There," Arya breathed, her excitement palpable, "do you see the gravitational distortion, Alex? This confirms your theory about dimensional overlap." Chen adjusted the readings, marveling at the data. "We should publish this," he said without thinking, then stopped, "except we can't, not without explaining how we discovered it." "I'm sorry," Arya said softly, turning to face him, "my presence has complicated your work and your life. You've given us everything and we've only brought you difficulties." "No," Chen protested, surprised by the vehemence in his voice, "you've given me something I thought I'd lost forever. You've reminded me why I became a scientist, why I loved this work. Arya, you've made me feel alive again." Her large eyes widened, hope and fear dancing across her delicate features. "Alex," she whispered, and the way she spoke his name made something ignite in his chest. He couldn't say who moved first, but suddenly the distance between them vanished. Chen's hands cupped her face, marveling at the warmth of her purple skin, at the way she trembled under his touch. "Tell me this is insane," he murmured. "It's completely insane," Arya agreed, her breath ghosting across his lips. "Different species, impossible circumstances, 1,000 reasons this cannot work." "And yet," Chen began. "And yet my heart doesn't care about reasons," Arya finished, and then she was kissing him with passion that tasted like starlight and mathematics and every beautiful mystery the universe held. The kiss spoke of lonely nights spent yearning, of intellectual connection deepening into something far more profound. When they finally parted, both breathing hard, Arya traced his face with wondering fingers. "I have wanted this since our first equation together," she confessed. I've wanted this since you smiled at my incomplete calculations, Chen admitted, pulling her close again, their second kiss slower, deeper, full of promise and possibility. 2 days later, Chen encountered Rena during her evening patrol of the facility's perimeter. She moved with warrior grace even in relaxation, and he found himself following, drawn by forces beyond his control. They ended up at the cliff's edge, watching sunset paint the valley in gold and crimson. You've been avoiding me, Rena stated, her directness startling him. I've been confused, Chen corrected, standing beside her. Rena, I don't understand what's happening to me. You kissed Arya, she said, not accusation but simple observation. I'm glad, she's been radiant ever since, but now you feel guilty, yes? How did you know? Chen asked, startled. We share quarters, Rena replied with hint of smile, and I know my crew, but your guilt suggests you believe caring for her means you cannot care for others, is that correct? Chen nodded miserably. I kissed Arya and it was incredible, but Rena, when I'm with you I feel things that terrify me. You make me want to be stronger, to carry burdens I thought too heavy, and I don't know how to reconcile these feelings. Rena turned to him, her purple-tinted features fierce and tender at once. On my world, we don't reconcile such feelings, she said, stepping closer. We celebrate them, Alex. Hearts are not finite resources, love does not divide, it multiplies. I don't know how, Chen admitted, his voice rough with emotion. Then let me show you, Rena murmured, and kissed him with warrior's courage and woman's tenderness. Where Arya's kiss had been intellectual passion igniting, Rena's was protective strength meeting vulnerability. She kissed like she led, with absolute confidence and surprising gentleness. Her hands steadied him when his knees weakened, grounded him when emotion threatened to overwhelm. I have commanded warriors through impossible battles, Rena whispered against his lips, but you, Alex Chen, you undo me with your kindness, your brilliant mind, your wounded heart that still finds room for others. This is impossible, Chen breathed, even as he pulled her closer. I have crossed impossible distances, Rena replied, survived impossible crashes. Impossible is just another word for things we haven't figured out yet. Their second kiss was interrupted by neither doubt nor guilt, only the need to breathe, and when they finally parted, Rena's smile held triumph. Do not cage your heart because you fear it's too large, she advised, some of us need that largeness. But it was Isabel who completed the transformation of Chen's understanding. He found her in the facility's small garden, tending earth plants with the same care she brought to healing, purple skin luminous in afternoon sun, her presence radiating peace that called to his restless soul. The flowers respond to you, Chen observed, joining her among the blooms. All living things respond to care and attention, Isabel replied, her smile gentle, even lonely scientists who pretend they need no one. I've stopped pretending, Chen admitted, kneeling beside her. Isabel, I need to tell you something. You've kissed Arya and Rena, she stated calmly, her hands never pausing in their work, and now you fear I will feel excluded or hurt. How do you all know everything? Chen asked with exasperated fondness. We are bonded crew, Isabel explained, looking at him with those impossibly expressive eyes. We share emotions and experiences in ways your species cannot. I felt their joy, Alex, and it made me happy because they deserve happiness, because you deserve happiness. But what about you? Chen asked, taking her hand, marveling at how perfectly it fit in his. Isabel, when I'm with you I feel peace I haven't known since Sarah died. You make me believe in gentleness again, in softness, in healing. Tears gathered in her eyes, catching light like diamonds. I have loved you since the moment you chose to shelter us despite your fear, she confessed. I have loved you watching you work yourself to exhaustion, seeing you laugh with Arya, witnessing you find strength with Rena. My heart is yours, Alex, if you want it. I want it, Chen said fiercely. I want all of you, Isabel. I'm falling in love with 3 alien women and I don't know how this works but I know it feels right. Isabel's kiss was healing made manifest, tender exploration that knitted together the broken pieces of his heart. She kissed like she healed, with patience and care and absolute focus. Her hands cradled his face like he was precious beyond measure. When they parted, both trembling, Isabel rested her forehead against his. On our world, bonds form between souls who recognize each other, she explained softly. Sometimes one soul recognizes another, sometimes one recognizes many. There is no shame in loving fully, Alex, only in denying what your heart knows to be true. That evening, Chen stood before all three women in the observatory's common room, his heart hammering with fear and hope and certainty. I need to say this clearly, he began, I'm falling in love with all of you, separately and together. I don't understand it, I don't know if it's allowed or possible or sustainable, but it's true. Arya stepped forward first, taking his hand. In our culture, this is not only allowed but celebrated. Rena joined them, her grip strong and sure. We form bonds called trinities sometimes, 3 or 4 souls joined in partnership. Isabel completed their circle, her touch gentle. We have been falling for you too, Alex, all 3 of us, waiting for you to accept what your heart already knew. Chen looked at their faces, purple-skinned and impossibly beautiful, each unique yet somehow perfectly complementary, and felt something settle in his soul. Then teach me, he said quietly, teach me how to love you all the way you deserve. The truth revealed. The revelation changed everything and nothing. Chen spent his days learning the delicate dance of loving 3 beings simultaneously, discovering that Arya was right, love didn't divide but multiplied exponentially. Morning coffee with Rena became planning sessions that turned into stolen kisses, her commander's discipline melting under his touch. You make me forget duty sometimes, she confessed one dawn, wrapped in his arms. On Xylora, that would be unthinkable. Maybe forgetting duty occasionally is healthy, Chen suggested, kissing her forehead. Afternoons with Arya crackled with intellectual passion that frequently ignited into physical need. They'd lose hours to equations and exploration, her purple skin glowing brighter when aroused. Your mind is as intoxicating as your touch, she breathed between kisses. Evenings belonged to Isabel's gentle healing. She'd massage away his tension while sharing poetry from her world, their lovemaking tender and unhurried. You've healed my heart, Chen whispered against her skin. But paradise held complications. 3 months after their arrival, Chen discovered the truth about their ship. He'd followed strange energy readings to the hidden canyon where their vessel lay concealed. The repairs were nearly complete, far more advanced than they'd admitted. How long have you been able to leave? He demanded that evening, hurt sharp in his voice. The 3 women exchanged guilty glances. 6 weeks, Rena finally admitted, her military bearing unable to hide shame. We've been stalling. Why? Chen asked, though his heart already knew. Because leaving means losing you, Arya said desperately. Alex, we've found something on Earth we never expected, a home, a partner, a reason to stay. Our mission was exploration and research, Isabel added softly, but we've discovered something more valuable than data. We've discovered love. Chen's anger warred with understanding. You should have told me. We were afraid, Rena confessed, vulnerability cracking her warrior facade, afraid you'd send us away, afraid to ask for what we truly want. Which is? Chen pressed. You, all 3 said simultaneously. We want to stay, Arya continued, abandon our mission, claim ship malfunction, make Earth our home if you'll have us. Our people practice formal bonding ceremonies, Isabel explained, triads and quads joining their lives permanently. Alex, we want to bond with you, become your partners in every sense. Chen's mind reeled. You'd give up your world, your people, everything familiar. We'd gain you, Rena said simply. Some trades are worth making. He looked at their faces, desperate and hopeful and beautiful, and thought of his empty years before they arrived. I need time, he said finally, this is enormous. Take what you need, Arya assured him, though tears gathered in her eyes. We'll wait. That night Chen walked the mountain alone, wrestling with impossible choices. 3 alien women loved him enough to abandon everything. Could he accept that sacrifice? Did he love them enough to build something permanent and unprecedented? Dawn found him at their ship, the 3 women waiting anxiously. I've decided, Chen announced, I love you, all of you, more than I thought possible to love again. But? Rena prompted, reading his hesitation. But I won't let you give up your world for me, Chen continued, instead, I'm coming with you. Shock registered on 3 purple faces. Alex, you can't, Isabel protested. Why not? He challenged. You crashed into my life and showed me I was just existing, not living. You've given me purpose, passion, love. If you can leave your world for me, I can leave mine for you, for us. Human biology can't survive our atmospheric conditions, Arya objected practically. Then we find a third option, Chen insisted, a planet where we can all thrive, or we split time between worlds. I don't have the answers yet, but I know I'm not losing you. Rena stepped forward, kissing him with warrior's fierce joy. You would truly abandon Earth? Earth has nothing for me but memories, Chen replied. You three are my future, wherever that leads. They celebrated that night under alien stars, for souls joining in ways that transcended species and convention, their love-making both tender and passionate, a claiming and surrendering that bound them deeper than any ceremony could. A new beginning. 2 months later, they'd found their solution, a small moon orbiting a distant planet, atmosphere compatible with both human and Xyloran biology, rich with resources and achingly beautiful. It's perfect, Chen breathed, viewing the scans. It's ours, Arya corrected, squeezing his hand, our home. They spent weeks preparing. Chen documented his research for the scientific community, leaving his life's work as his legacy. The 3 women gathered supplies and technology, planning their new colony. The night before departure, they performed the Xyloran bonding ceremony, standing under Earth stars one final time. Rena spoke the ancient words binding them as partners. Arya wove their hands together with ceremonial cord. Isabel blessed their union with healing light. I bond my heart to yours, Chen vowed, looking at each woman. In this life and whatever comes after, you are mine and I am yours. We are bound, they responded in unison, their purple skin glowing brilliantly. The physical consummation of their bond lasted until dawn, for bodies moving in harmony, pleasure building and cresting in waves that left them gasping and complete. Chen loved each woman individually, learning their unique rhythms. Then they came together as one, a tangle of limbs and hearts and souls recognizing each other. I never imagined this, Chen whispered, surrounded by his alien loves. Neither did we, Rena admitted, but sometimes the universe gives us what we need, not what we expected. Their departure from Earth went unnoticed, one lonely scientist disappearing into the cosmos with 3 alien explorers, but their arrival at their new moon marked the beginning of something unprecedented, the first human Xyloran colony, built on love rather than conquest. Years later, Chen stood on their settlement's observation deck, watching twin suns set over purple vegetation. Arya worked in their laboratory, pregnant with their first child. Rena commanded their small security force with pride. Isabel tended their medical facility and growing community. Other Xylorans had joined them, drawn by tales of the human who loved 3 alien women. Some brought human partners they'd bonded with, creating a colony of unprecedented diversity, love transcending species and convention. Happy? Isabel asked, joining him at the window. Beyond measure, Chen replied, pulling her close as Arya and Rena joined them, for souls who'd found each other against impossible odds. Their kiss sealed promises kept and futures secured, proof that love needed no permission, only courage to embrace what the heart recognized as true. The end.